All right, let's get some things in order. Who is ESPN predicting to leave the Indiana Fever in free agency? Who are they predicting to leave all of these teams? This is the most free agents in WNBA history. Everybody is trying to cash in on this new CBA. We got to figure out who is about to be leaving Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever, along with some of the other teams. I think there are a few players that are going to be demanding.
Let's start with the shock that blew up social media this week.
It's very uncertain for the entire league in general, but you're a free agent for the first time. Have you thought about what free agency might look like for you if you'd like to be back?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a restricted free agent, so I think that changes things a little bit, but I've loved my years here in Indiana. So obviously with a lot of uncertainty, you don't know what's to come, but I've built a life here, and I love this franchise. I love the people. I love the fans, so we'll see what comes.
They were nicknamed the Tres Leches, Caitlin Clark, Sophie Cunningham, and Lexie Hall. At first, it sounded like a light-hearted joke, a sugary nickname fans tossed around online. But inside the Fever locker room, it meant something real, something unshakable, because this trio wasn't built on convenience. It wasn't built on marketing. It was built on survival when the season turned rough, when veterans targeted Clark, when the national spotlight became blinding. Sophie and Lexie were the ones who stepped forward. They shielded her on the court, checked on her outfit, and made sure the weight she carried didn't break her spirit. Sophie brought fire, the enforcer energy the Fever had lacked for years. Lexie brought steadiness, a quiet, grounding presence who understood pressure before the world even learned Clark's name. Together, they created a circle around Caitlin that no opponent, no critic, and no executive could penetrate, and Caitlin noticed. Every shove she absorbed, every hard foul she took, every night she walked into an arena packed with people waiting to judge her. Through it all, those who had her back. For a rising superstar drowning in attention, loyalty meant everything. And when power shifted, when the Fever suddenly realized they were sitting on the most valuable athlete women's basketball had produced in decades, Caitlin Clark used that power the way only a generational leader could, not for herself, but for the people who protected her. What happened next wasn't written in contracts, leaked to reporters, or announced in press releases. It was quiet, private, a single unspoken line drawn behind closed doors, the kind of message only a franchise player can send, a message that would redefine her influence inside the organization. If the Fever wanted to keep their star, they would need to keep her circle intact, and with that, Caitlin Clark didn't just transform a struggling franchise into a contender. She reinvented what power looks like in the WNBA. In professional sports, the most decisive battles aren't always visible to the public. They don't always unfold under the arena lights or in front of roaring fans. Many of them happen in private offices, in hushed meetings, and in quiet exchanges that can shape the direction of an entire franchise for years ahead. The Indiana Fever's recent rise is a story everyone has heard, a young, hungry team anchored by the most magnetic rookie the WNBA has witnessed in a long time. But what if the future of this team wasn't determined by analytics presentations or front office blueprints? What if everything hinged on one silent but powerful demand made by their brightest young star? This is the untold account of how Caitlin Clark, barely entering her first full year as a professional, used influence few rookies ever dream of possessing to protect the people who meant the most to her, and in doing so, reshaped what real authority looks like in women's basketball. The pressure began the moment she entered the league. Caitlin Clark's debut season came with expectations that would have crushed almost anyone else. Cameras tracked her every move. Defenses treated her like a threat from day one, sending waves of physical pressure her way, while the weight of an entire sport seemed to lean on her shoulders. She wasn't just another first-round pick trying to adjust to the professional pace. She was branded the savior, the once-in-a-generation figure destined to elevate the women's game to new heights. The scrutiny was constant. Opponents crowded her, pushing the boundaries of what referees would let slide. Analysts broke down every turnover, every hesitation, every shot that didn't drop. Fans expected miracles. Critics waited for cracks, and everyone watched to see if the legend lived up to the hype. In that chaos, stability became priceless. Clark needed people she could rely on, teammates who saw her as a human being before they saw her as a franchise asset. She found that in two players who supported her when no one else knew how. What formed between them became the most important dynamic within the Fever, the Tres Leches, a nickname that started off as a playful joke between teammates Caitlin Clark, Sophie Cunningham, and Lexie Hall came to represent something far deeper. Their chemistry was unmistakable. Laughter during warm-ups, encouragement during tough stretches, and a bond that extended far beyond routine practices and games. For Clark, this was more than friendship, it was her foundation. Sophie Cunningham was the fearless enforcer, a fiery veteran unafraid to challenge anyone who crossed the line. She was the first to step up when defenders tried to rough Clark up and didn't hesitate to take the heat if it meant protecting her teammate. Lexie Hall brought the counterbalance, steady, calm, focused. Where Sophie brought intensity, Lexie brought clarity. Her consistency and professionalism stabilized the locker room. Together, they created an atmosphere where Clark didn't have to constantly look over her shoulder. Their connection on the court produced wins. Their closeness off the court fostered trust, and that bond was about to be pushed to its limit when the off-season arrived. Whispers about pending roster moves began to spread. Despite the Fever's surge in performance and the attention Clark had generated, financial and structural realities remained. WNBA salary rules were tight, and building a long-term contender required difficult, sometimes unpopular decisions. Suddenly, two of the team's most loved players, Sophie and Lexie, were mentioned in trade talks. It sounded practical on paper. Free up salary space, create roster flexibility, bring in additional depth. Executives could justify the moves to analysts and accountants, but spreadsheets couldn't measure chemistry. They couldn't quantify loyalty or the influence of two players who kept the team grounded. And they certainly couldn't show their importance to Caitlin Clark's emotional well-being. The rumors spread, as they always do. Players heard them first. Agents started shaking trees. Media outlets speculated. And that's when the rookie everyone expected to stay quiet and follow directions finally drew her line. Caitlin Clark went directly to Fever leadership. It wasn't a dramatic public campaign. It wasn't social media theatrics or back-channel leaks. It was a private, firm, unshakable message. Sophie Cunningham and Lexie Hall were non-negotiable parts of her success and essential pieces of the culture she believed the team needed to preserve if Indiana wanted to build around their superstar, and they unquestionably did. They would need to honor her vision for the roster. This moment shifted everything. Clark wasn't just running the offense anymore. She was influencing the blueprint of the franchise itself, but the decision came with real risk. No rookie, especially in the WNBA, takes this kind of stand without consequences. She risked being labeled demanding, entitled, or overly involved. She risked damaging her reputation. She risked upsetting the very organization she was trying to help. Still, she chose loyalty over fear. She chose her teammates over her image. She chose stability over silence. And in doing so, she made a statement few athletes, especially women, have ever made so early in their careers. Had the front office ignored her stance and traded Sophie and Lexie anyway, Clark would have been trapped in a no-win situation. Would she stay and fulfill her contract despite feeling betrayed? Or would she request a trade of her own, sparking a public crisis that neither side could easily contain?